The abs have to be one of the most aesthetic muscle groups. There are tons of bodybuilders who look pretty crazy with a shirt on, but then they take their shirts off and they look freaking average. And that's me being nice. There are also a ton of people who many would claim have a sleepy build, but once you see their six-pack, it completely changes what you think of their physique. Unfortunately, many people don't have a six-pack and they have a false illusion that you have to do a ton of ab workouts to get a six-pack. But what if I told you you don't actually have to do ab workouts to get an aesthetic six-pack? I know this may sound like a lie, but it's actually way easier and less complicated than you think. My name is Rios. I have a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science, and because I'm here to make fitness great again, I'll be going over how you can achieve an aesthetic six-pack without doing ab workouts. Before I get started with my video, if you're looking to build an aesthetic physique, be sure to check out my 90-day aesthetic body blueprint. This takes away all the guesswork out of achieving your dream physique. But if you're more focused on athletic performance, be sure to check out my 120-day peak athleticism package. Both of these will be in the description. First, I'm going to get the most boring part of getting a six-pack out of the way, and that's diet. You can have the most muscular abs in the world, but if you have a layer of fat on top of them, you're not going to see your abs. I'm not going to go too in detail about diet, as the topic of this video is about strength and conditioning principles and not necessarily diet to achieve a six-pack, but you obviously want to make sure you're pretty lean to be able to see your abs. If you're actually looking for good tips on how to cut and lose weight, my brother Mario made a great video on how to cut properly, so be sure to check out that video. But to sum up, you can have your training down to a T, but if you're not eating properly and you're not lean enough, you're not going to see your abs. Now that I got diet out of the way, I'll actually show you how you can achieve an aesthetic six-pack without training them directly. First, I want to clarify that I'm not saying that ab workouts are essentially bad. I mean, I've literally made 2 videos on them. I'm just saying you don't need direct ab training to develop your abs. Ab workouts can definitely benefit you if you want some extra ab work. And although you don't need to do ab workouts to develop your abs, you still need to train them. And the amazing thing is that not only can you train your abs without actually thinking that you're training them, but you can build muscle in other areas as well. I know this sounds too good to be true, but let me explain. When you're doing an exercise like the squat, your core, which also includes your abs, are working to stabilize the spine for efficient and powerful movement. And in heavy compound exercises like a squat, deadlift, or overhead press, your abs actually have a high level of activation. So in order to build your core, including your abs, you want to select ground-based free weight exercises. The great thing about these exercises is that they have the perfect level of instability that won't affect your strength, hypertrophy, or power gains, but they're still moderately unstable, which gives you a good core stimulus. Research indicates that many traditional resistance training exercises performed both bilaterally and unilaterally with barbells and dumbbells are excellent training options for developing core strength and stability, as well as maximizing overall strength. So switch your lazy leg press with a squat, a lazy chest supported row with a barbell row, a lat pull down for pull-ups, a seated overhead press for a standing overhead press. You get the picture. One of the common complaints about this method I get is, well, you can't build your abs with compound exercises and they're not better than isolation work. First, think about it. If you're prioritizing ground-based free weight exercises and you're training 3 to 6 times per week, you're going to be getting a lot of core work. And that's definitely gonna add up. And when it comes to the point that training the abs in isolation is better, there's a study that found that an isolation ab exercise had similar activation of the abs as a heavy squat. And while you do have to keep in mind that you won't be taking the abs to failure in a compound lift, it does show how much stimulation of the abs you get from compound lifts. Throughout my entire lifting journey, I've rarely done ab workouts. I've done some here and there, but I haven't ever prioritized them. All I've done is prioritize ground-based free weight exercises, and I would say I have some pretty developed abs. Not Leon Edwards level, but you get the picture. And even strongman Eddie Hall, who's not the leanest guy, has visible abs not from ab workouts, but compound lifts.
You'd get a six-pack because you've been training for strength, not for cut.
Piece of piss, because the abdominal muscles, with everything I've done with the squats and the deadlifts for what, 20 years? Like, I've just got such a thick abdominal wall. I'm 175 kilo.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's crazy. So I'm like, you know, 380 pounds.
So yeah, from personal experience and other examples, you can see that compound lifts are a fantastic and time-efficient way to build your abs. Although I went over how you can build your abs without specifically training them, there is one exercise I would add in to ensure complete ab development. And that's a rotation or anti-rotation exercise. Although free weight compound exercises hit the abs well, which I literally just went over for like 5 minutes, these lifts don't involve trunk rotation in the transverse plane, which is why I would recommend you add a rotation exercise into your routine to ensure complete core development. If you watch any NPC bodybuilders online, you might think that training your obliques will lead to a blocky waist. And I can tell you that's completely false. First, I would say having a blocky waist is pretty much purely genetic and it's not something you should worry about. And in my opinion, having developed obliques actually makes your physique look way cooler. I mean, just look at Leon Edwards. This is a guy that competes in a rotation heavy sport and trains rotation a bunch, yet he has the smallest waist I've ever seen, and his obliques have to be one of the coolest parts of his physique. There are two ways that you should be working on rotation, and I would switch these every time you happen to be training rotation. The first being just a typical rotation exercise, with my favorites being a medicine ball throw or barbell rotations if I'm more focused on rotational power, and just a simple cable rotation variation if I'm more focused on rotational strength. But don't forget anti-rotation as well. Core stability is so important for force production, and anti-rotation is so often slept on, and the path flop press is my favorite way to hit anti-rotation, with the goal of this exercise obviously being to resist rotation and keep a neutral spine. So that's how you build an aesthetic six-pack without crazy ab workouts. And while that is the easiest way to get an aesthetic six-pack, doing specific ab work can be very beneficial for hypertrophy and performance. And I've actually made 2 ab videos. One more focused on building an aesthetic six-pack with dynamic ab exercises, and one that's more focused on performance by building core stability.